Ferial Haffajee, Nwabisa Mda, Anja Venter and others. Now, this book has also been described as necessary, relatable, fierce and thoughtful by literary critics. Now, to help us unpack this book, I'm joined from our Seapoint studio in Cape Town by writer and feminist Jen Thorpe. A very good morning to you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, before we crack this book, can you just briefly define for us what's your version of feminism?
Well, for me, feminism is a useful set of tools that you can look at the world, you can unpack the things that are right and wrong, and it's a way to recognize that there's a power imbalance at the moment, and this needs to be addressed, whether that's between men and women or between particular groups of women and other women. It's important to think about equality, and feminism provides me with that toolkit to look at the world.
So, Jen, why does it appear that black South African women don't fully embrace the feminism discourse?
I think feminism as a label is a very Western concept, but I think there's not so much a sense that they're not embracing it, but that it's not necessarily the most appropriate label. And that's because we lack a lot of conversation and African dialogue around this issue. And that's why this book provides such a great opportunity to have an African resource, a South African resource, to unpack our own thoughts on this issue and not have to listen to American or British ideas about what feminism can mean for us here in South Africa.
Let's talk about the different stories from different feminists in South Africa. What is so compelling about them that made you decide to compile this feminism piece of work?
Well, I went to an incredible open book festival talk in September 2016, and I was just amazed at the power of the women speaking on the panel, and I thought how many other women I knew that could contribute in a way that would inspire women, would inspire men, would inspire all South Africans to think about the way that our world could be better. And I thought that it would be wonderful if we each had our own collection that we could read at home, have these thoughts privately, and then engage in conversation, especially with younger South Africans, about what we can do to make the world a more equal and gender equitable place.
Now, Jen, when you're putting this book together and having worked and researched and read how other feminists involved and how their view on this particular subject are, has that influenced how you view and define feminism today?
Wow, yeah, it's been an incredible process. I mean, every day that I read it, I've read this collection so many times through editing. I was amazed and inspired. There's so many different perspectives, but I think at the core, what we all share is the idea that solidarity and working together doesn't have to mean sameness, but it has to mean showing up for one another, making space for open conversations, and really looking at the world in a way that is open and compassionate. And I was really excited by that idea. Feminism doesn't mean you have all the answers, but it means that you ask questions of the world and that you engage with one another to try and get to those answers.
You say that feminism has been as necessary today as it has ever been. Break this down for us.
Well, I think, there's a lot of things to be said. My essay in the collection is about the law in South Africa and the incredible human rights that we have here when compared to anywhere else in the world. But we've got all those laws, but we don't necessarily have lived freedoms. We can't necessarily walk into the street and feel safe. We can't be in relationships and feel safe. So I think although we've got all these laws and we've made massive advancements internationally as well, there's a lived experience that is still different for women, that is still different for trans women, that is still different for people who are occupying positions of poverty or working in the HIV sector or are sex workers. There's something that says, despite the equal law, we don't have an equal life. And I think until that's the situation where you can feel the lived reality of equality, we need feminism more than ever because we can't be complacent.
Now, the definition of feminism has been changing over the years. So where are we hoping this will be, or rather, how do you think it will be defined in the coming decades?
I think it will be defined by feminists. I think one of the challenges we've had to deal with over history is that feminism has been defined from the outside. It's been defined as bra burners, or it's been defined as women against one another, whereas now we're looking at defining feminism from where we are. We're making space for feminisms rather than one definition, and I think that's great. That doesn't do anything to make the movement weaker, it only makes it stronger, because it allows us each to have space for our voice and to show up for one another and to recognize the difference in our experiences and our own privileges and disadvantages.
Now, Jen, you and I are aware that South Africa is still grappling with the issue of misogyny, patriarchy, femicide, and books such as this. I mean, and many other books that tackle feminism. How do you measure the success and the influence of such books in fighting patriarchy and misogyny?
Yeah. I think the value of books like this and of other books that tackle these issues is that they open conversations and that they don't allow us to pretend that everything is okay. So I've been speaking the last while about the idea that we've got this onion of this misogynistic, violent society, and once you start peeling back the layers, you can never go back. You can never re-onion the onion. So these books provide us with the way that we can look at things and keep unpacking and no longer accept that inequality for women or violence against women is acceptable, but really try to fight the stereotypes and norms that allow that violence to happen, because it doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes out of us laughing at the sexist joke at a bra. It comes out of the way we treat our girls and boys differently and the careers that we encourage men and women to have. And these are all on a spectrum. So I hope books like this start the conversation and keep it going.
And the alliances, Jen, between white and black feminists continues to be volatile. Why is this the case, and how do we deal with that?
Yeah. Well, I think there's differences of power. So we talk a lot about intersectionality in feminism, which is basically recognizing the various positions of power and disadvantage that you come from. So if I'm a white woman speaking to a black man, there's still a power imbalance despite the gender difference there. So although people think men have all the power, because of the historical situation in South Africa, that might not be the case. So I think with white feminists and black feminists, there's definitely a need for more conversation, but there's also a need for white feminists to make space for different voices to come through. I think when you're raised as a white person, you're told your voice is important, you know, you've got something valid to say, and that might be true, but sometimes it's not your turn to talk. And so I think this book provides an opportunity for white and black feminists to engage in different issues, to have the same perspectives, and to hear one another's voices.
You know what, Jen, if I had a hat with me, I'll just take it off in your honor. This is such a brilliant read. Thank you so much for chatting to us this morning.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Now, that's feminist and a writer from Cape Town, Jen Thorpe, and she's speaking to us about the release of a book that you edited titled Feminism in South Africans Speak Out. All right, you're also welcome to share with us some of the books that you're currently reading or those that are on your to-read list. You may just be the lucky viewer who will join us for a live book review of that read. And all you have to do is to email, Instagram, or tweet us a picture and relevant caption of your pick of the week, must read for 2018, your current read, and the one you were hoping was going to be great but turned out to be rather disappointing. Tweet us using the handle @MorningLiveSABC or #MorningLiveSABC. Instagram us on @MorningLiveSABC or email morninglive@sabc.co.za.